welcome to the One More Thing podcast. Today I'm joined with Pastor Larry and Miss Susan Hickman.
2 weeks in a row. What?
2 weeks in a row. It's been an honor to see you on stage for the last 2 weekends.
Thanks. It's always fun.
And you've done a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
So this weekend was parenting, and I really enjoyed this one. Just obviously, I have 2 little girls, and Laura and I took a lot of notes, and it was very affirming in some areas because we have taken your parenting class.
You did.
And but it gave us some new ideas that we had not thought of and implemented. And so what were some of your favorite points from this weekend as far as things that stuck out?
It reminded me of the time when I was parenting young children, and I like the feelings of that nostalgia that comes with that. Although now I look at grandchildren and realize the role is still there. I mean, when Rick, you and Laura are around, of course you're the parents, but when you're not there, I get to fill the role of parenting kids, and with that comes a lot of as grandparents, a lot less responsibility and a lot more love and affirmation. Still a few boundaries, but it just reminds me that my life is still important when it comes to dealing with kids.
I have to ask a personal question. Do any of your grandchildren, you got 5 of them, do they remind you of your kids, like when at their age?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to think of those different nuances, but sometimes I see Peyton and Stacy similarly. I see Brady within Brady. I don't see Stacy, but honestly, I see a little bit of Ryan.
Yeah.
And Brady with some of the stuff he says and does. And with your girls, it's kind of a blend. Some days I see Laura in Layton, and other days I see her in London. Probably at this point, I see a little more Layton than
walk.
Than London.
The walk.
Is
She's got her mommy's walk.
Layton. Oh, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's probably true, but it's fun to see that because it's a good reminder.
Yeah.
Life goes quickly. I mean, I'm going, oh my goodness, how is it possible that these kids are this old at this point?
Why didn't you warn us about that in the parenting class?
You
It is
you feed
insane.
them, they grow.
It's
crazy.
We were looking at pictures last night because that on the iPhone they have like on this date a year ago, on this date 2 years ago. It's just like how rapid the girls are changing is
It
insane.
happens really fast. And mine is getting married this weekend. And just the other day, she was so little.
Yeah.
And she was going, come on, come on. That was her thing. She always wanted you to come with her. So now she's going to be a bride. So, yeah, it happens overnight.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
That's probably my favorite line of the weekend.
I was going to say.
No.
It's
Yeah,
true.
that was a really good one.
But you know what? It really changes your mindset. I have a lot of parents that come to take my parenting class because they really need to fix their kids. Their kids are misbehaving and all this is going on. And I'm like, yeah, come to my class. I'm going to fix you. They get a little disappointed when they come to my class and they go, oh, I'm the one that has to fix things. It's like, yep, maybe if you just try this. But a lot of the stuff, Becky and I don't even know how many parenting books, how many parenting seminars. And the thing that I always love that you say a lot is, you keep the meat and throw away the bones. Mm-hmm. And with my parenting class, I like to take a lot of the practical. It's like connect with your child's heart. Okay.
What does that mean?
What does that look like? What do I say? Where do I put my feet? You know? And so I think it's really important to tell parents, this is what you say to your kid, instead of, just these ethereal concepts. It's like with parenting, you're hands-on every day.
Yeah.
So it's a chance to try something new.
Yeah. No, and I mean, like I said, we implemented a lot of things that we learned in the parenting class. So this is kind of a shameless plug for the parenting class. If you haven't taken it, this whole weekend was centered around plugging that parenting class. It's phenomenal.
Or if you took it and your kids have grown at all, take it again. I think Holly's taken it like 6 times.
Well, she keeps having kids.
She did. She just had another baby, so I'm looking forward to having her next year.
So, one of the things that I love, because I was in some of the planning meetings for this weekend, and I noticed you guys went off script a lot, as far as like what was kind of planned out, and I love that like free flow in conversation and dynamic.
Yeah, I'm probably responsible for a lot of that. Just trying to see if I could stump Susan.
It's impossible.
I couldn't do it. But stories come to your mind and they fit, and you tell a story. I think the stories about our children, they resonate a lot more than principles, although Susan doesn't teach with principles as much as she does. She gives you a great story. Kids leave their shoes outside. Oh, no, I'm sorry, but, now you won't be able to wear them. Childish irresponsibility is a great thing to talk about, but when you give examples of that, which she did marvelously, I thought was, to me, I resonate with that. I thought it was fun because I could picture a lot of things when she was talking.
Yeah, agreed. One of the main points that kind of stuck with me this weekend was how we parent our children is how we kind of have our view of God.
Right.
Could you expand on that a little bit?
I think that sometimes when you have a distorted view of God, that God is angry, He's always out to get you, then sometimes our parenting skills or our parenting models, well, I'm going to treat you the way I think God is treating me. Mm-hmm. So sometimes parenting can be verbally abusive, corrective. It's all about justice. It's not about childish irresponsibility. It's more condemning and damning in that aspect, because if that God is this tyrannical figure and I want to be like God or treat others like I think I'm being treated, then it spills over into my kids. But when I have an understanding that God is a loving parent and that He loves me as much as He can, and I think that those are important things. I mean, that love transcends all else, and it helps me to love my kids in a better way. So I'm better because of my better understanding of God.
Yeah, I know even within the Bible, there's some questionable parenting tips in there, especially in the Old Testament.
Well, some are good, actually.
Yeah.
Children, obey your parents and live long, and you will live long in the land.
Mm-hmm.
I like just leave out in the land. I just think, if you don't respect your parents, you're going to die.
Yeah.
And there is actually a Levitical code that says if you disrespect your parents, you're to be brought into the town square and stoned.
That's the one I'm referencing.
Yeah. So I don't think that's probably
a little questionable. I thought you were just referring to, I brought you in this world so I can take you in.
You read me perfectly, Susan. That's exactly what I was meaning. Yeah. So your days will be limited if you don't respect.
Right.
And there have been times in parenting. I remember having a conversation with Ryan once upon a time. Said, this is not just your mother. This is my wife, and you will respect her. And when I was done, he was crying.
Yeah.
Because I was just saying, this is unacceptable behavior. And he just didn't see it in that way, but he got the message loud and clear. And I don't think that we need to talk to our kids till they cry, but we want them to get it. I don't want them to roll their eyes and walk away. Mm-hmm. I don't ever remember that happening. Because if they roll their eyes, they wouldn't walk away. Their head may roll.
Right.
But I just think that consistency, following up, this is unacceptable behavior. I'm sorry, there's a consequence to this. And I enjoyed bringing up what has frustrated me is parents who put their kids in timeout for a week or 2 weeks or a month, or parents who prohibit their kids from, they really love church, so I'm going to punish them by not letting them go to church. One of the more wholesome things in their life is get them in community and church. Right. And to use that as a punishment, I go, are you just not? Why don't you just say, okay, because you were bad this week, I'm going to make you stay home from school. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm going to stay home with you because I can't work if you're home. But they don't use that. And I think that the other thing I really loved when Susan said, be the parent. You're not their friend. You're not their comrade. You're their parent. And as they grow older, you can move those into those different roles. But I think it's important early on to let them know you can't eat ice cream for breakfast. And you have to go to bed at a certain time. And you go to school and you go to church. And you cannot be rude to your sibling or disrespectful to your parents, and you have to teach them that.
Yeah, agreed. And one last kind of point and topic to this whole idea of intertwining, how we view God and our parenting is you said this weekend, you told your kids there's nothing that you can do that will make me love you any less.
And there's nothing you can do to make me love you anymore. I actually listened to a podcast the other day, and it was I wish I could think of her name, but she had gone into middle schools, and she asked the kids, do you think your parents would like you more if you got better grades? And she said 70% raised their hand. Ooh. No. Oh, no. So your kids do need to know there is nothing you can do to make me love you anymore, and there's nothing you can do to make me love you any less.
And to give fair credits, that's a Philip Yancey quote.
Mm-hmm. Is it?
Yes.
Oh. So I didn't know where I heard
what's so
it.
Amazing? What's so amazing about grace?
Yeah.
And Philip Yancey is the one I think that brought that phrase to the table.
And I think that's something that we just need to remind ourselves is, if we can, I can't remember if it was you or if it was Ryan, but you stated, if I can imagine a love greater than God, then it doesn't seem like it's right. You know, if my father has more love for me than God, because there's nothing Ryan could do that would make you love him
Right.
any less.
Right.
Or this idea of eternal punishment or anything like that. There's nothing he can do to. So if you can imagine a greater love for him, how warped is our view of God?
Correct.
And that walking along beside your kids in their dishonesty, in their disobedience, in their disrespect, this is not what we do. This is not, and maybe pointing out what those consequences are, not heaping more consequences on. You made a bad decision. Now the consequence is this, and just kind of making the punishment fit the crime. If you're mean to your friends, what's the natural consequence? You're not going to have any friends.
You have no friends.
So your logical consequence is you don't get to play with your friends this week.
Right.
So, make the punishment fit the crime.
Yeah.
So it's actually a learning tool and not just you deserve this.
Right.
But I thought you said it very well. The consequences of irresponsibility, they have their own consequences. You don't have to punish sometimes beyond the consequences. If my kid is defiant and they put the line in the sand and they toe up to it, well, that's probably not going to be in their best interest, because we'll step right up to the line and say, no, this is not the way this works. That's disrespectful. We don't live there. But to say, I left my shoes outside, well, you're 5 years old. That's why sometimes we as parents, we get frustrated because we get really frustrated because we did not follow up on their irresponsibility.
Right.
Or we have not trained them well enough. But even if we do, they're still going to be irresponsible. You don't ground them or beat them up for irresponsible action. They didn't mean to.
Right.
But when the things they do mean to, that's when you step up to the plate and you have them take a break, or with this kind of attitude's not working. Well, let's work out another way to make this work. But irresponsibility is always one of those things. Yeah, you just gotta realize they're kids or male.
Yeah.
Either way.
Either way. And I know that part really stuck out to Laura, just even with London. Leighton's so very responsible, abnormally responsible for her age, and London is that free-spirited 5-year-old. So we just kind of have to remember, she's 5. Yeah. She's not doing this with a bad heart. She's just 5.
She doesn't leave her glasses at school because she's being disrespectful.
Exactly.
Or defiant. She's just being a 5-year-old.
Exactly. But I think one of the greatest proof of you two as authorities in this area is your relationship with your kids. And I tell Laura all the time, I hope I have the relationship that Susan and Larry have with their kids with our kids when they're older.
That's the goal.
And you guys, your kids are crazy about you both.
Yeah.
And they love you and they respect you. And I'm hoping that's the relationship I have with my girls. So thank you for sharing your wisdom this weekend. I thought it was amazing. Very, very helpful.
It's one of my favorite things.
And go ahead.
We're humbled by that comment, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Thank you very much for being on the One More Thing.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.